at any rate, some things repetition, it gets old, so you got to switch it up. But, just, I don't know, latch onto the phenomenal stuff and repeat that. At any rate, my dad brought it to my attention that if I had the coordination to ride a bicycle to 200 miles, my dad brought it to my attention that if I had the coordination to ride a bicycle 200 miles from Seattle to Portland, that I had more than enough coordination to drive a car. His analogy made perfect sense. I almost immediately went down to the local licensing agency and acquired a learner's permit. I began driving right away with experienced drivers in the car and was doing great at driving. It seems like I only had my permit for about a month, and I went down to the licensing agency, took the test, and upgraded to a driver's license. Why had I been so fearful of driving for so long? The answer may be that it was driven into my head by others and myself, probably more myself, that I was more messed up by the traumatic brain injury than I actually was, and I had thought that way for so long, it became the truth for me. What we focus on becomes our truth. About a month or so after I forced my mountain bike into semi-retirement and started driving my car, I got a letter in the mail from the Social Security Administration. The letter stated that they had approved my claim for supplemental security income. When a claim is approved, they go back to the date you initially applied and pay you from that date on. I had initially applied 7 years earlier and kept at it with the help of an attorney, so I was looking at a sizable chunk of back pay. While I was very grateful for the car I had been given, and it did not seem to have anything wrong with it at that moment, I thought I might like to have a little bit nicer car. So when I got the first chunk of money from the SSA, I bought a 1995 Chevy Lumina. I had initially gotten Jessica to come to the car lot to co-sign for me, figuring that I could build up some credit by making payments. But after thinking about it and talking with my dad, I went in the next day and just gave the guys a check to pay off the car. I'm glad I did that, because even though I may have built up some credit, I would have ultimately paid a lot more money than I needed to for the car. I only had that car for a couple of weeks when a job I applied for, a delivery driver position at Godfather's Pizza in Enumclaw, came through for me. One of my friends was working there and had told me at the open position. She said she put in a good word for me. It must have been a really good word, because I was hired within a week of filling out the application. I loved that job. I had lived in Enumclaw or the surrounding area for so much of my life. I knew the streets of the town like I knew my ABCs. The newer housing developments around town were my only troubling areas, but I had a Thomas guide in my car to take care of that problem. I even opted, and going on that, the Thomas guide, I'm not sure if, I could have even gotten a phone at that, back then. Probably, but I was actually using Jessica's flip phone, and she was going without at the time. But at any rate, so that's why I needed the Thomas guide, was to look at the maps and refer to those instead of using, I didn't have a smartphone with GPS and all that. Didn't have a Garmin in my car at the moment. Yeah. I even opted to deliver pizza to addresses outside the boundaries of our delivery area, simply because it was good business and it made the customers happy, and I knew all the roads anyway. The biggest delivery that I remember doing was an order for 12 jumbo pizzas and 6 2-liters of soda pop. The call came in while I was out on a delivery, but I came through the door of the restaurant as the assistant manager was still on the phone with the lady. She asked me if I would take a delivery out to some dam, an actual hydroelectric dam, which is 16 miles from the restaurant. I said that I would take it without a second thought. I drove for about half hour to get there, but I came up to the locked gate at the dam and parked. I waited for about a minute and was just about to use my cell phone to call the lady who had ordered the pizza when she drove up to the other side of the gate. She opened the gate and told me to come park next to her car, which I did. She signed the credit card slip and I transferred the pizza and soda pop into her car. I asked about the large order out of curiosity, and she explained that they were having an employee party that day. Right before she got into her car, she told me that she would have given me more of a tip, but the tip that she did give was all that her boss would authorize. When she had signed the slip, I just put it in my pocket without looking at it and smiled at her, and told her, "Have a great day." I should have waited until I got back to the restaurant to look at the receipt because I was flabbergasted as I pulled the receipt out of my pocket as I was driving. I saw that the lady had given me a $50 tip and almost swerved off the highway into a pasture full of cattle. A $40 tip, pasture full of cattle. This is Enumclaw, people. And almost swerved off the highway. And a $40 tip was very good. 50. I don't know why I said 40 here in the book. A $50 tip was very good, even though the order totaled nearly $200. People usually tipped well, but not that generously. Needless to say, that was a very good day. I already said it, but I really loved that job. I was making and cooking pizzas and other food items in the restaurant and then delivering them to people out in the community. So I was essentially doing them a service, hence the term food service, and getting paid for it. Plus, I got to be outside, whether out on deliveries, placing coupons on people's doorsteps, or pacing the shoulder of the highway in front of the restaurant while wearing a sandwich sign. Yep, that was me out there. I even got to meet and work alongside a guy who is now a big name in country music. The general manager we had at the time. Okay, well, I couldn't say in the book here because of the copyright and liability and all that. I don't know, but I'll just say it here on my podcast. Where was I? Oh yeah, I even got to meet and work alongside a guy who is now a big name in country music, Blake Larson. Yeah, he's from the area there, and he started working at Godfather's, and then we helped him. Once he started getting into this, promoting his music more. He put on at least one, maybe multiple live shows there at Godfather's. It was so cool. Super busy those nights. I know I was there on a couple of them. He was working in the kitchen for a day or two before he quit doing that and started playing music on Friday and Saturday nights at the restaurant. Working on those nights was a royal pain in the butt since the restaurant was full of people. I mean, cram-packed, like standing room only, and trying to move around there, pain in the butt. I'm not saying that every table in the restaurant was full the whole time, but the rest of the dining room was full of people standing wherever there was room. While it was very hard to pass through the dining room, taking and coming back from deliveries, it was still exciting, and I'm grateful to have been a part of that. At one point, I was our restaurant's only delivery driver for about a month. One of the other two drivers was out because her eardrum burst while taking off in an airplane, and the other guy broke his thumb while doing yard work. His whole hand had a cast on it, and he needed that hand to shift gears with. I ended up putting in 29 days straight, mostly open to close. I was totally worn out at the end of that month, to say the least. Toward the end of my stint as a pizza delivery driver, I had grown weary of what I was doing and wished to spread my wings a bit. A friend of mine had heard me voice my wishes to find another job, and he said he may have a position for me doing deliveries out of Seattle. Oh, hey, good morning, Ron. My friend Ronald, he says, good morning, Shane. I'm at mile 8. So right on, Ronald. Keep on running, buddy. Wish I was there in Puyallup running the anthem, running with the Anthem All Stars. Good morning, Vika. Yeah, just looking over at my comments on Facebook Live here. Got friends chiming in here. Well, they probably, a little while ago. But anyway, good morning, guys. And good morning, everyone else. But at any rate, getting back to this, I told my manager at Godfather's that I may be getting another job and that it may start within the next few days. And she said she was cool with that. She had hired on a couple more delivery drivers so she would not be left high and dry. The next day, as I was slicing vegetables in the kitchen at work, I heard the door chime go off, indicating that somebody had entered the restaurant. The manager was in the back room taking inventory before she placed an order for supplies. Knowing I was the only employee available, I turned to visually verify that someone had in fact entered the restaurant. At that moment, the knife slipped at an angle and went into the side of my ring finger. The manager ended up coming to help the customer who had just come in, while I proceeded to wash my hands and wrap a thick wad of paper towels around my hand that was cut. It was a bad cut, so I drove myself to the hospital, which was only about a mile away. The waiting area at the emergency room was packed. It was taking quite a while to be seen. I was outside smoking a cigarette at one point when my friend called me about the position in Seattle and said I could start the next morning. Good timing, huh? I had clocked out of